What is chronesthesia? Have you ever been lost in thought, suddenly reliving a childhood memory so vividly you could almost smell the crayons and hear the laughter echoing down the school halls? Or found yourself imagining a future so detailed, a career you haven't started, a home you haven't built, that for a moment it felt real? That incredible ability, the power to mentally jump backward into our memories or leap forward into imagined futures, has a name. It's called chronesthesia, or more simply, mental time travel. Chronesthesia isn't just a poetic idea. It's a real, scientifically studied phenomenon that separates us, and perhaps even a few other animals, from much of the natural world. But what is it, really? Chronesthesia is the brain's remarkable ability to project itself backward and forward in time. It's not just about recalling facts from the past or planning practical things for the future. It's about re-experiencing past events and pre-experiencing imagined futures in vivid, emotionally rich detail. It's the reason you can mentally step into your fifth birthday party and feel the warmth of the sun on your face. Or imagine your wedding day, your retirement party, even a life decades ahead, all with scenes so rich they almost seem tangible. In 2001, psychologist Endel Tulving, a giant in the field of memory research, introduced the term chronesthesia. He pointed out that it's different from simple memory recall because it requires a sense of subjective time and awareness that these memories or imaginations exist within your own personal timeline. You don't just remember what happened, you remember yourself in another time, your surroundings, your emotions, your thoughts, all wrapped into a living, breathing moment in your mind. And yet, despite how natural it feels to us, scientists are still trying to fully understand how chronesthesia actually works inside the brain. Is it a completely separate cognitive system, distinct from basic memory? Or is it something layered onto memory, an extra dimension that gives memories and imaginations their feeling of time and personal meaning? And even deeper questions emerge. Is chronesthesia responsible for our feeling of being a continuous self across time? Is it the secret ingredient that makes you feel like the same person you were years ago and the same person you will be years from now? Without chronesthesia, life might feel fragmented, like a series of disconnected snapshots with no real storyline, no unfolding journey, just an endless, blinking now. Chronesthesia stitches those moments together. It allows you to create narratives about your life, to build goals, dreams, regrets, and hopes. It gives you a personal history and a future worth working toward. In this journey, we'll explore how the brain constructs these mental journeys through time. We'll dive into the fascinating neuroscience behind it, the psychological mysteries that surround it, the evolutionary reasons why we developed it in this ancient ability. From ancient myths about memory and prophecy to futuristic brain scans mapping the highways of thought, chronesthesia sits at the very heart of what it means to be human. But before we venture deeper into the brain's and how modern technology, from artificial intelligence to virtual reality, might be reshaping mechanics, we need to ask one crucial question. What exactly sets simple memory apart from true mental time travel? Let's find out. The science behind mental time travel. Chronesthesia, our mind's remarkable ability to leap across time, feels so effortless, so woven into the fabric of our lives, that we rarely stop to wonder how it's even possible. But underneath this everyday magic is a deep, complex web of brain systems, psychological processes, and evolutionary designs that scientists are only beginning to fully understand. So, how does the brain actually pull off this incredible feat? Let's dive into the science behind mental time travel. The journey begins in one of the most fascinating areas of the brain, the default mode network, often called the DMN. At first, researchers thought the DMN was just the brain's idling mode, what happens when we're not focused on the outside world. But over the last 2 decades, a revolutionary discovery flipped that idea on its head. When the mind wanders, when we daydream, reflect on the past, or imagine the future, the default mode network lights up like a city skyline at night. It turns out the DMN is anything but idle. It's the brain's primary stage for constructing mental simulations. Whether we're revisiting yesterday's heartbreak or visualizing tomorrow's possibilities, the DMN stretches across several key brain regions: the medial prefrontal cortex, posterior cingulate cortex, precuneus, and parts of the medial temporal lobes, including the hippocampus. Each of these areas plays a critical role, and together, they form a kind of internal theater, a stage where past and future performances unfold. The hippocampus especially deserves our attention. Traditionally known for its role in forming and storing memories, the hippocampus also appears vital for imagining future events. In a groundbreaking 2007 study, Daniel Schachter and Donna Rose Otis showed that patients with damage to the hippocampus struggled not only with recalling the past, but also with imagining detailed future scenarios. In other words, the ability to remember and the ability to pre-experience seem deeply intertwined. It's as if the hippocampus provides the raw material, the building blocks of sensory details, emotional tones, and spatial layouts, that the brain then recombines into both memories and imagined futures. But the hippocampus doesn't work alone. The prefrontal cortex, particularly the medial prefrontal cortex, is crucial for self-referential thinking. This is the part of the brain that helps us link events to ourselves, giving mental time travel its deeply personal flavor. When you imagine yourself winning an award, or remember yourself tripping embarrassingly on stage, it's the prefrontal cortex that's helping you insert you into the scene. Meanwhile, the posterior cingulate cortex and precuneus seem to act like conductors, coordinating the activity between different brain regions and maintaining the rich, flowing narrative structure of mental time travel. Without these regions working in harmony, our mental journeys would be chaotic at best, random flashes without continuity or meaning. But the science of mental time travel isn't just about mapping which brain areas light up. It's also about understanding why they evolved in the first place. One compelling theory suggests that mental time travel gave our ancestors a survival advantage. Imagine you're an early human standing at the edge of a forest. You remember a time when you walked into similar woods and encountered a dangerous predator. You project forward. If you enter these woods now, the same thing could happen. Your brain simulates different future outcomes: attack, injury, death. So you choose another path. Mental time travel allowed humans to make smarter decisions, plan better hunts, avoid dangers, and even form social bonds based on shared stories of past and future. It turned raw instinct into flexible, creative foresight. This theory is often referred to as the prospective brain hypothesis, proposed by Daniel Schachter and colleagues around 2007 to 2008. It suggests that one of the primary functions of memory isn't just to remember the past. It's to allow us to imagine and prepare for the future. Memory, in this view, isn't a passive archive. It's an active, dynamic tool for survival. And here's something mind-bending. Experiments with non-human animals show that mental time travel might not be unique to humans. Research with scrub jays, small, clever birds, revealed that they can remember where they hid food and anticipate future hunger, adjusting their behavior accordingly. Similarly, studies of great apes, dolphins, and even rats suggest that elements of chronesthesia, at least primitive forms, may exist across species. However, humans appear to have taken mental time travel to an entirely new level, weaving it into art, culture, dreams, goals, and complex societies. And chronesthesia isn't without its dark side. The same brain systems that allow us to anticipate joy and success also allow us to anticipate failure, pain, and loss. This may explain why anxiety and depression often involve disturbances in mental time travel, excessive rumination on the past, or catastrophic predictions about the future. In fact, some psychological disorders are now thought of as disruptions in the brain's time travel abilities. For instance, depression often traps people in negative past events, making it difficult to envision a hopeful future. PTSD can cause traumatic memories to crash into the present, making past horrors feel vividly real in the now. And schizophrenia sometimes involves breakdowns in the continuity of self across time, blurring past, present, and imagined future. These insights are giving rise to new therapeutic approaches. For example, techniques like future oriented therapy encourage patients to practice imagining positive future events, a kind of cognitive training in healthier time travel. But the implications don't stop at mental health. Today, cutting edge technologies like virtual reality and AI driven memory reconstruction are beginning to tap into the mechanisms of chronesthesia. Scientists are creating immersive experiences that allow people to revisit cherished memories or simulate future achievements in stunning detail. Some researchers are even exploring whether memory implants, devices that could restore lost memories, might one day reawaken the ability to mentally time travel for people with brain injuries. And what about artificial intelligence? Could machines one day possess something like chronesthesia, the ability to imagine possible futures based on a simulated sense of self and time? It's a tantalizing question that scientists and philosophers are only beginning to grapple with. Chronesthesia is not just about memory, it's about simulation, imagination, self awareness, and decision making, the very core of what it means to be a sentient being. As we peel back the layers of how the brain manages this extraordinary ability, we're not just studying memory, we're studying meaning, identity, and the fabric of human consciousness itself. And the more we understand about the science of mental time travel, the more fascinating the past becomes. Because what we call memory might not be a perfect recording of reality at all. It might be something far stranger, something more creative, fluid, and personal than we've ever imagined. In the next chapter, we're going to dive deep into how our minds reconstruct the past, how memories are shaped, twisted, and sometimes even invented. We'll see why the past we think we remember is often not the past that actually happened. The past, it turns out, is not set in stone. It's alive, reconstructed anew every time we summon it. Let's begin. The past in our minds. When we think of memory, we often picture it as a kind of recording, a mental video camera faithfully capturing every detail of our lives. We imagine that somewhere deep inside us is a perfect archive, ready to be replayed at will. But what if that comforting image is almost entirely wrong? What if memory is less like a video and more like a story we rewrite every time we tell it? The truth about our memories is stranger and far more fascinating than we usually realize. Memory is not a passive recorder. It's an active, living system. Every time you remember something, your brain is not pulling a dusty file off a shelf. It's reconstructing that memory, piece by piece, like an artist repainting a scene from scratch. And every reconstruction carries the fingerprints of the present, your current emotions, beliefs, hopes, fears, subtly changing the past you think you know. Let's start with the basics. How does the brain store and retrieve memories? The brain doesn't store memories in one neat place. Instead, memories are scattered across a vast network of regions. The hippocampus acts like a master librarian, helping to bind together the different sensory and emotional components of a memory. The amygdala tags emotionally charged memories, making them more vivid, which is why moments of fear, joy, or trauma feel so much sharper. The neocortex slowly integrates memories over time, distributing information across the brain for long-term storage. But even these stored memories aren't fixed snapshots. They're dynamic, flexible, and deeply tied to our sense of identity. This flexibility is a double-edged sword. It allows us to update memories with new information, which is crucial for learning. But it also means our memories are constantly vulnerable to distortion. In 1974, psychologists Elizabeth Loftus and John Palmer conducted a famous study that revealed just how easily memories can be manipulated. Participants watched a video of a car crash. Later, researchers asked them questions, but with a subtle twist in the wording. When asked, how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other? Participants reported higher speeds and remembered seeing broken glass, even though there was none. When gentler words like contacted were used, their recollections were far tamer. This simple experiment revealed a powerful truth. The way we frame a question can change the memory itself. It's not just outside influences that reshape our memories. Even our internal world plays a role. If you're feeling sad today, your brain might emphasize the darker tones in an old memory. If you're feeling triumphant, you might inflate your past achievements without even realizing it. Memory, it turns out, is less like a recording and more like a collaborative performance between your past and your present self. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. Each time you recall a memory, your brain temporarily unstores it, makes it flexible again, before resaving it. This process is called reconsolidation. During reconsolidation, memories can be subtly rewritten. Details can be added, lost, or altered. Think about a story you've told 100 times at parties. Over the years, you might have added dramatic flourishes, trimmed boring parts, or shifted details for a better punchline. You didn't mean to lie. Your brain was simply refining the story each time you recalled it. In a way, the brain prefers a good story to a perfectly accurate one. A memory that fits your current narrative about yourself, your beliefs, your dreams, your wounds, often feels more important than one that's purely factual. This idea is at the heart of narrative identity theory, proposed by psychologists like Dan McAdams. According to this view, we don't just passively store memories, we weave them into a coherent life story. A story with heroes, villains, struggles, victories, turning points. And like any good story, it's shaped by the needs of the moment. This is why two siblings can remember the same childhood event completely differently, not because one is lying, but because each has built a different story about what it meant. Memory is subjective. Memory is storytelling. But if memories are so fluid, how can we trust them at all? The answer lies in the brain's incredible efficiency. Our memories don't need to be perfectly accurate to be useful. They need to be functional, guiding our decisions, supporting our goals, and maintaining a stable sense of who we are. Evolution didn't prioritize perfect recall. It prioritized survival. A memory that slightly exaggerates the danger of a past event might help you avoid future risks. A memory that paints your efforts in a positive light might boost your confidence to try again. And sometimes, distorted memories serve deeper emotional needs. False memories, memories of things that never actually happened, can arise naturally from this process. Loftus's research showed how easy it is to implant false memories through suggestion. In fact, Entire therapeutic scandals arose in the 1980s and 1990s around recovered memories that turned out to be entirely fabricated. But not all false memories are harmful. Many people carry warm, nostalgic recollections of happy events that probably never occurred exactly the way they remember. These positive distortions can strengthen relationships, provide comfort, and reinforce a sense of meaning. Memory, then, is not about preserving objective reality. It's about maintaining a livable reality. And this brings us to one of the most mind-bending ideas in cognitive science. Every time you remember your past, you're also reinventing your future. Because the way you remember your past shapes the possibilities you can imagine for yourself. If you remember yourself as resilient, someone who overcame tough times, you're more likely to believe you can overcome challenges ahead. If you remember yourself as a victim, powerless against fate, you may expect the future to be the same. In this sense, the past isn't just behind you, it's also beneath you, forming the foundation for everything you dare to dream. And here's another twist. The brain's creative memory system may have paved the way for something even bigger: the emergence of culture itself. Storytelling, history, myth, all of these cultural forces rely on our ability to share and transmit memories across generations. Without the flexible, narrative nature of human memory, civilizations could never have developed complex traditions, shared knowledge, or collective identities. Memory doesn't just build individuals, it builds worlds. Yet for all its wonders, memory remains fragile. Diseases like Alzheimer's reveal how devastating the loss of memory can be. Not just the loss of facts, but the slow unraveling of identity itself. Patients with Alzheimer's often lose their ability to mentally travel into the past, and with it, their ability to imagine a meaningful future. It's a heartbreaking reminder. Chronesthesia, the ability to weave together past and future, is not guaranteed. It's a delicate gift, vulnerable to the workings of biology and time. New research offers glimmers of hope. Scientists are exploring memory-enhancing drugs, brain stimulation techniques, and even virtual reality therapies designed to help people with memory loss re-anchor themselves in personal time. Some bold futurists dream of digital memory backups, a kind of technological chronesthesia that could preserve our mental time travel even as our biological brains falter. But for now, every act of remembering remains a profoundly human miracle. Each memory we summon, whether pristine or patchworked, connects us across the vast landscapes of our own life. And now that we understand just how strange, flexible, and powerful memory really is, we can ask an even deeper question. If memory is a creative act, what happens when we turn our mental gaze not backward, but forward? How does the brain build visions of the future? And can future memories be just as real, just as emotional, just as life-shaping as those rooted in the past? In the next chapter, we'll travel forward into the dazzling territory of imagined futures. We'll explore how the brain constructs possible tomorrows and why sometimes dreaming about the future can be as powerful as living it. The journey through time has just begun. Projecting the future. If you've ever found yourself daydreaming about the future, maybe you imagine landing your dream job, traveling the world, or having a perfect dinner with loved ones, then you've experienced the magic of mental time travel, but this time, in the opposite direction. You're no longer living in the past. You're looking ahead, peering into an unknown world that exists only in your mind. You're projecting the future, just as your brain pulls together fragments of the past to form a memory. It does something equally remarkable when it looks forward. The process is like a complex puzzle with pieces made of hopes, fears, desires, and experiences, all working together to create a vision of what's yet to come. But how does the brain construct this intricate map of the future? What neural pathways are involved in this process? And what makes our ability to imagine future events so vital for our survival? To understand how we project the future, we need to dive into a fascinating concept: prospection. Prospection is the brain's ability to simulate future scenarios, to mentally explore a wide range of what ifs, whether it's planning a vacation, imagining an important conversation, or preparing for a potential challenge. Prospection allows us to anticipate the possibilities before they unfold. This mental time travel enables us to adjust our behavior, plan our goals, and navigate the uncertainty of the future with some degree of preparation. And here's the kicker: the brain doesn't just simulate a single future, it creates multiple versions of what might happen. Think about it. When you imagine a future event, your mind doesn't just settle on one outcome. You might envision an ideal scenario where everything goes perfectly, but you'll also anticipate the worst case scenario, the one where things fall apart. This dual approach, envisioning both the best and the worst, is a kind of mental rehearsal for life's challenges. It prepares you emotionally, cognitively, and even physically for different possibilities. This process of what if thinking is powered by the same regions of the brain that we explored when we talked about remembering the past: the hippocampus, the prefrontal cortex, and the default mode network. But when it comes to imagining the future, these brain areas go through a fascinating transformation. The prefrontal cortex, the brain's decision-making powerhouse, is especially active during future-oriented thinking. It's the part of the brain that helps us plan, make predictions, and judge potential outcomes. When you picture yourself in a new situation, say, negotiating a raise at work or attending a party where you don't know anyone, it's your prefrontal cortex that's busy running simulations, testing out various responses, and weighing the consequences of each choice. Meanwhile, the hippocampus takes center stage, again working to create vivid, sensory-rich mental scenes of the future. Just as it pieces together fragments of the past to create memories, the hippocampus helps to blend various details of your future projections: sounds, sights, smells, even emotions, to create a coherent vision of what's to come. However, the future we project is not always a simple projection of the past. In fact, some researchers believe that the future is more like a story we build from scratch. A 2014 study by neuroscientists Corbett and Schachter argued that our ability to imagine the future is rooted in the same neural mechanisms as memory. But here's the twist: our brains don't just replay past events to predict the future. We reconstruct it, drawing on our experiences, our expectations, and our desires. Our future isn't just an echo of the past. It's a dynamic, ever-evolving narrative that incorporates elements of creativity and imagination. So, when you imagine yourself giving a speech in front of a crowd, your mind isn't just replaying the last time you spoke in public. It's generating a brand new scenario, borrowing pieces of memories from other experiences, public speaking, for instance, and stitching them together with new ideas. The brain acts as a master storyteller, blending reality with possibility, weaving a future that feels both familiar and new. But there's a deeper layer to this: the emotional influence of our future projections. We don't just imagine events in terms of facts and logistics. We also envision them with a strong emotional charge. A future wedding might feel thrilling and joyful. A job interview might stir up feelings of anxiety and self-doubt. Your brain isn't just envisioning the logistics of these events, it's feeling them too. And this emotional engagement is crucial. This brings us to a fascinating area of research: the idea that our ability to project the future is tightly linked to our emotions and motivations. The medial prefrontal cortex and the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, regions deep within the brain, are critical for evaluating future rewards and risks. When you think about future success, getting that promotion, buying your dream home, your brain is literally mapping out potential rewards in the brain's reward center. These brain areas help to assign value to the future, giving us the motivation to work toward goals and avoid negative outcomes. In many ways, these emotional simulations of the future are what drive us to take action in the present. They help us set goals, make plans, and move forward. Without these emotional projections, life might feel like an endless series of present moments with no sense of direction or purpose. We need to feel excited about the future to stay motivated. The emotional significance we attach to our projected futures is what turns everyday decisions into meaningful actions. But there's a darker side to all this mental projection. What happens when our brains only focus on the negative potentialities? In fact, the very ability to imagine the future can sometimes lead to anxiety and fear. When we focus too much on what could go wrong, whether it's a future failure, an illness, or an existential crisis, our mental time travel can become overwhelming, even paralyzing. The prefrontal cortex, usually tasked with generating solutions, can spiral into catastrophic predictions, leading us to avoid risk entirely. The key to a healthy mind is balancing these projections, allowing the brain to imagine potential dangers, but also making room for positive outcomes and growth. That's why, in recent years, researchers have started exploring how to train the brain to imagine more positive futures. Therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy (CBT) help patients reframe their future projections, shifting them from fear-driven predictions to more optimistic, hopeful visions. And here's something surprising. When we visualize a positive future, we're more likely to take proactive steps in the present to make that future happen. That's why athletes and performers often use mental imagery before big events. Visualizing a successful performance can increase the chances of that success becoming a reality. So, while our ability to project the future is an incredibly powerful tool for survival and growth, it also carries the risk of becoming too attached to negative projections. But just as the brain can spiral into anxiety, it can also spiral into fantasy. Think about the number of times you've caught yourself dreaming of something far grander than your current reality. A life where you're rich, successful, adored. We often use mental time travel to escape the present moment and project an idealized future. And while this can serve as a source of motivation, it can also lead to disappointment when reality doesn't meet our fantasy. So, the key is balance, the ability to imagine both what could go right and what could go wrong, and to use these projections to guide us forward, not overwhelm us. But the brain doesn't just project individual futures, it also projects collective futures. This is where things get even more fascinating. Human societies have the unique ability to imagine a collective future, a future where we all share common goals, dreams, and fears. These collective future projections are what power social movements, scientific innovation, and cultural evolution. Whether it's dreaming of a better world or fearing environmental collapse, our collective future projections shape how we organize, how we live, and how we fight for change. This brings us back to a critical point. Mental time travel isn't just an individual experience, it's a collective one, and it's shaping the course of history in ways we're only beginning to understand. As we wrap up this chapter, the big question lingers. Can we ever fully control the future we project? Or is our future destined to be as uncertain as the past? In the next chapter, we'll explore how both the future and the past collide in our minds, forming the basis for our sense of self. We'll delve into how we navigate time to create an identity that's both fluid and stable, constantly adapting as we move through life's endless cycles of change. But for now, ask yourself, what's the future you're projecting today? And what's your role in shaping that future? Disorders of chronesthesia. What if you could never escape the past? Imagine living in a world where the past never fades. Every moment from yesterday, last week, or even years ago lingers with you like an unshakable shadow. You are unable to move forward, your mind trapped in a loop of what has already been. Now imagine the opposite. What if the future were always a distant blur, never quite coming into focus, no matter how hard you try to project it? Every decision feels meaningless because the vision of tomorrow remains obscured as though a thick fog prevents you from seeing the road ahead. Both of these scenarios, while extreme, highlight what happens when chronesthesia, the ability to mentally time travel, goes awry. In this chapter, we'll explore how the fascinating gift of mental time travel can become distorted or even paralyzed in certain disorders. Let's begin with the question, what happens when our ability to perceive time, both past and future, becomes distorted? Time, as we know it, is fluid and subjective. Our brains continuously shift between past memories, present experiences, and future projections. But when this delicate balance is disturbed, it can lead to profound disruptions in our sense of self, our behavior, and our mental well-being. Disorders of chronesthesia don't just affect the ability to recall memories or imagine the future. They can fundamentally alter how we perceive ourselves and our place in the world. The paradox of time, too much or too little. It's a curious paradox. Some people experience time distortion in a way that keeps them trapped in the past, unable to move forward. They suffer from a mental state where memories dominate their perception of reality. These individuals are so immersed in past experiences, past trauma, past decisions, or past relationships that they become incapable of projecting future possibilities. They become prisoners of their own memories. They are caught in a loop of what was without the ability to break free and what could be. This phenomenon is often linked to post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD), depression, and certain anxiety disorders. For others, the problem is not being stuck in the past, but rather being unable to mentally envision or project a future at all. These individuals may live in a present that feels like a never-ending void, where planning, goal setting, or imagining future scenarios seems impossible. This inability to imagine what's next can be a defining feature of conditions like depression, schizophrenia, and dissociative disorders, where the future seems like an inaccessible horizon, out of reach and unclear. PTSD and the past. When the mind can't let go. The first disorder we'll look at is post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD). PTSD is a prime example of when the past overtakes our mental time travel. For individuals with PTSD, the boundary between past and present becomes blurred. Memories of traumatic events, whether they occurred recently or decades ago, feel as vivid and real as if they're happening in the present moment. Flashbacks, vivid nightmares, and intrusive thoughts hijack their minds, bringing the past to life in the most overwhelming ways. These memories can invade their mental space at any given time, flooding their awareness with terrifying emotions, sounds, and images. It's as though they're caught in an endless loop, unable to break free from the past. These individuals may find it incredibly difficult to plan or imagine a positive future because the past constantly anchors them to their traumatic experiences. For example, a soldier returning from a combat zone may be haunted by the memories of the battlefield, reliving the sounds of gunfire or the images of fallen comrades. No matter how hard they try to push these memories away, they persist, creating a mental environment where the past is far more real than any present or future. The neural mechanisms behind PTSD are still being explored, but we know that the hippocampus, amygdala, and prefrontal cortex are all involved in the way trauma is stored and recalled. In PTSD, the hippocampus, which is responsible for processing memories, becomes hyperactive. This hyperactivity prevents individuals from being able to properly close the file on past traumatic experiences, leaving them trapped in their emotional and psychological aftermath. Depression and the absence of future. On the flip side of the time perception coin is depression, which can profoundly affect our ability to mentally project the future. People with depression often experience a sense of timelessness. The future feels uncertain, and often it seems like there's no hope ahead. Goals appear meaningless, and the idea of things getting better seems out of reach. Time itself becomes distorted. The future may feel like a distant, unachievable place, or it might feel like an endless, gray loop of the present. In many cases, the brain is fixated on past failures, past regrets, or past losses, which can make it nearly impossible to visualize a better tomorrow. This disruption in future thinking is often related to cognitive biases that depression creates. People with depression tend to have a negative bias in their thinking, especially when it comes to the future. Research has shown that people with depression often struggle with future-oriented thinking because they see their future as bleak or unchangeable. Their mental projections are clouded by their current negative emotional state, which leads them to see the future as equally hopeless. This often causes people to feel like they're stuck, unable to mentally travel forward in time. In severe cases, this can manifest as anhedonia, where individuals lose the ability to feel pleasure or motivation for anything, a lack of hope for a future worth living for. They become disconnected not only from the future, but also from the present moment. Schizophrenia, the collapse of temporal boundaries. In schizophrenia, the experience of time is often fragmented and disjointed. For individuals with schizophrenia, the lines between past, present, and future can become unclear. Hallucinations and delusions may cause them to perceive the world in a radically different way, making it difficult to discern when or where they are in time. For example, a person with schizophrenia might believe that their thoughts can alter the past or that they can see into the future, leading to a breakdown of time's natural flow. This mental fragmentation often leads to a distorted sense of self, because the past, present, and future are no longer integrated in a coherent way. Individuals may struggle to form a stable, continuous identity. Their experience of the world is often described as a time loop, where moments blur together or feel entirely disjointed. This disorientation can severely impact their ability to plan for the future or even understand their place in the present. Dissociative disorders, the absence of temporal awareness. A common symptom of dissociative disorders, such as dissociative identity disorder is the disruption of memory and temporal continuity. Indeed, individuals often experience time loss, periods of time where they cannot account for their actions or memories. This can manifest as blackouts, where the person cannot remember what happened during certain moments of their life. For people with DID, the mind becomes fragmented, and their sense of self can feel disjointed across time. The various identities within the person may each have their own perception of time, with each alter inhabiting different moments in the past or future. This can cause immense confusion, as the person may have no clear sense of a continuous timeline or narrative of their own life. Temporal illusions in the brain, neurological insights. But what's happening in the brain during these disorders? How do neurological mechanisms break down, causing this disruption in our experience of time? Research in neuroscience reveals some fascinating insights. The anterior cingulate cortex and the prefrontal cortex are both involved in regulating time perception. These regions help us distinguish between past memories and future projections. When these regions become dysregulated due to trauma, mental illness, or other neurological conditions, the individual may lose their ability to differentiate between past, present, and future. For example, in cases of PTSD, the hyperactivity of the hippocampus can make past memories feel as though they're happening in real time. Similarly, dysfunction in the prefrontal cortex may impair the ability to form future projections or may distort these projections, making them seem inaccessible or unreal. The treatment and hope for chronesthesia disorders. Despite the profound nature of these disorders, there is hope. Therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy (CBT), eye movement desensitization, and reprocessing (EMDR), and mindfulness have shown promising results in helping individuals regain control over their perception of time. CBT helps patients challenge their negative thought patterns about the past and future, teaching them to reframe distorted projections. EMDR is particularly effective for trauma survivors, as it helps them process traumatic memories and reduce their emotional intensity, allowing them to reestablish a sense of temporal balance. Mindfulness practices help individuals reconnect with the present moment, reducing the overwhelming pull of past memories or future anxieties. With these therapies, individuals can slowly learn to time travel again, but this time with greater awareness, control, and peace. Philosophical and cultural views. Does time exist outside of us, or is it a construct of our minds? The question of time has been debated for centuries, from ancient philosophies to modern quantum theories. Humans have always tried to understand the nature of time, how it flows, and how we experience it. Yet, in all this exploration, one of the most profound questions remains: is time merely a mental construct, or is it an objective reality that exists outside of our perception? In this chapter, we'll explore the philosophical and cultural views on chronesthesia, our ability to mentally time travel, and how different cultures and schools of thought have tackled the question of time. These perspectives offer not only fascinating insights into how we perceive time, but also provide valuable answers to some of the most perplexing questions about human existence and the nature of the universe itself. The nature of time. Philosophical foundations. To understand chronesthesia, we first need to understand the essence of time itself. Philosophers have long debated whether time is something inherent to the universe, or simply a mental construct shaped by our perception. These ideas date back to ancient Greece, where thinkers like Aristotle and Pythagoras tackled time from different angles. For Aristotle, time was a continuous process, a way of measuring change and motion in the universe. He saw time as an objective reality, separate from human consciousness, flowing regardless of our perception of it. However, in contrast, St. Augustine, one of the most influential thinkers in Christian philosophy, famously questioned the nature of time. In his Confessions, he pondered, "What is time? If no one asks me, I know. If I wish to explain it to him who asks, I know not." This paradox captured the essence of time's subjective quality. While we experience time as real, past, present, and future, when we try to define it, time slips away from us, becoming elusive. Augustine's work hinted at time being something internally experienced, suggesting that the past exists only in our memories, the future in our anticipation, and the present is but a fleeting moment. This tension between objective time and subjective experience has been a central theme in philosophy ever since. Modern philosophical views on chronesthesia. In modern philosophy, the subjectivity of time has become even more pronounced, particularly with the advent of phenomenology. Phenomenology, pioneered by Edmund Husserl and Martin Heidegger, focuses on how time is experienced from the first-person perspective. For these thinkers, time is not a fixed, measurable quantity, but rather something subjective and fluid. It's experienced rather than simply observed. Husserl argued that our perception of time is more about how we anticipate the future and recollect the past rather than time being a measurable, external entity. Heidegger went a step further, viewing time as an essential part of human existence. He proposed that our sense of time shapes how we understand ourselves in the world, arguing that being itself is temporal. Our consciousness of the past, present, and future fundamentally shapes our identity. This notion directly aligns with the concept of chronesthesia. Our ability to mentally time travel is not a passive experience. It actively shapes our consciousness and sense of self. Our mind is constantly moving through time, weaving memories and anticipations into our present existence. But what does this mean for the concept of time itself? Is it a product of our mental faculties, or does it transcend human consciousness? One radical view from the world of quantum physics, famously proposed by Albert Einstein, suggests that time is merely an illusion. According to his theory of relativity, time is not an absolute constant, but is relative to the observer. It bends and stretches depending on speed and gravity. This challenges the very notion of time as an unchangeable force. If time is relative, then could our experience of time, through chronesthesia, also be relative? Could our mental travel through time be a subjective experience that bends with our perception, like the physical bending of time itself? Eastern philosophies, time as cyclical and eternal. While Western philosophy often sees time as linear, flowing from past to present to future, many Eastern philosophies propose a cyclical view of time. In traditions like Hinduism, Buddhism, and Taoism, time is often seen as a repeating cycle, one that is not bound to an individual's lifetime, but is part of an eternal flow. In Hinduism, time is understood in terms of cycles of creation, preservation, and destruction, each governed by the three aspects of the divine: Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. The universe is seen as being in constant flux, undergoing cycles of birth, death, and rebirth. The samsara, the past and future are intricately woven together, as all events are part of a larger cosmic rhythm. For Hindus, this cyclical time means that chronesthesia is not just an individual experience but part of a broader, cosmic dance. Our sense of time, our ability to reflect on the past and project into the future, is inextricably linked to the divine cycles of the universe. In Buddhism, time is often viewed as an illusion, a product of our desire to control it. Buddhists believe that attachment to past regrets or future anxieties leads to suffering. The path to enlightenment is about living in the present moment, freeing oneself from the tyranny of time. Buddhist meditation practices, especially mindfulness, help practitioners break free from linear time, bringing them into a state where the distinctions between past, present, and future dissolve. This present moment awareness allows them to transcend ordinary time perception and connect with something timeless. Similarly, in Taoism, time is cyclical, but it is also fluid and formless. The Taoists argue that humans should live in harmony with the natural flow of time, understanding that life and death, creation and destruction, are part of an ongoing process that is beyond human control. In Taoism, chronesthesia is not about grasping at time, but about flowing with it, much like water. Taoism's concept of Wu Wei, effortless action, involves surrendering to the present, allowing the past and future to unfold naturally, rather than forcing our perception of time to conform to rigid structures. Time in indigenous cultures, connection to the land and the cosmos. Indigenous cultures around the world also offer fascinating perspectives on time. In many Native American traditions, for instance, time is seen as circular, deeply connected to the rhythms of nature. For many indigenous peoples, the land itself holds the past, present, and future. Ancient stories, rituals, and traditions are passed down through generations, maintaining a timeless connection between ancestors and future generations. In this worldview, chronesthesia is not only an individual phenomenon but a communal one. The past is honored, the present is celebrated, and the future is shaped by the wisdom of those who came before. This worldview often contrasts sharply with the linear, forward-driven conception of time that dominates Western thinking. In many indigenous cultures, the concept of time is fluid and intangible. The past is never truly gone. It lives on in the collective memory of the people and in the natural world. The future is something that is shaped by the present and guided by the wisdom of the ancestors. Time and technology, cultural shifts in the modern world. As we move into the modern world, our relationship with time has shifted dramatically. With the advent of technology, particularly digital technologies like smartphones, social media, and virtual reality, our perception of time has become increasingly compressed. The constant flow of information, the 24 by 7 nature of the digital world, and the instant gratification provided by modern technology all contribute to a warped sense of time. We're no longer bound by the traditional structures of time, the 9 to 5 workday, the seasons, or even the ticking clock. Our mental time travel, facilitated by technology, is instantaneous and boundless. But what impact does this have on our chronesthesia? Are we losing our ability to engage meaningfully with time? Are we so consumed by the present moment, the notification, the tweet, the like, that we've lost sight of the larger past and future? Conclusion: time as a fluid, human experience. Chronesthesia, our ability to travel through time mentally, is not just a fascinating cognitive phenomenon. It is deeply shaped by philosophy, culture, and technology. Our perception of time has been a central theme throughout human history, and as our understanding of the mind and universe evolves, so too does our relationship with time. Whether we view time as an objective reality, a cyclical force, or a fleeting mental construct, the human experience of time is rich, multifaceted, and constantly evolving. In this exploration of chronesthesia, we have not only unraveled the nature of time itself, but also gained profound insights into the ways our minds shape our sense of past, present, and future. Modern implications. What if time itself could be manipulated? What if we could rewrite the past, live in the future, and bend our perception of the present? In a world where technology advances at a dizzying pace, these are not just dreams but possibilities. In the past century, our understanding of time has been revolutionized by scientific breakthroughs. But now, we're on the precipice of something even more mind-bending: the mental capacity to time travel. Chronesthesia, once thought to be a unique feature of human cognition, is now being integrated with the very technologies that are shaping our future. From virtual reality to artificial intelligence, modern advancements are pushing the boundaries of how we perceive and interact with time. And what does this mean for mental time travel? This chapter explores the modern implications of chronesthesia, particularly through the lens of cutting-edge technologies and how they're altering our relationship with time. In a world where we can recreate the past and predict the future with unprecedented precision, what happens to our mental experience of time? Can we program our minds to travel through time more efficiently? Or are we at risk of losing our connection to the present moment? Virtual reality, living in the past and future. If you think time travel is confined to science fiction, think again. Today, virtual reality VR is taking us closer than ever to the experience of reliving the past or projecting ourselves into the future. Imagine this: a VR headset that allows you to walk through a recreation of your childhood home, experiencing everything as it once was: sounds, sights, even the smell of your grandmother's cooking in the kitchen. Or perhaps you're stepping into a future where technology has transformed the world, and you can see firsthand the consequences of today's actions. VR is creating opportunities for us to experience chronesthesia in ways that weren't possible just a few decades ago. Using technology, we can mentally transport ourselves to a different point in time, experiencing past memories with emotional intensity, or anticipating the future with a level of detail that feels completely real. This is not just a passive viewing experience, it's immersive. Through VR, we can manipulate time in a way that blurs the lines between memory and imagination, past and future. But what are the implications of this? While VR offers exciting new ways to experience time, it raises important questions. If we can relive the past so vividly, what happens to our sense of identity? Do we become trapped in a loop, forever reliving memories? And when we step into the future, are we distorting our perception of what's to come, creating expectations that might never come true? The mental experience of time becomes less tethered to the flow of real-world events. We begin to see that chronesthesia is no longer confined to the mind's natural capabilities, but is now intertwined with the technology that mediates our perceptions of reality. Artificial intelligence, predicting and shaping the future. Just as VR is allowing us to revisit the past, artificial intelligence AI is helping us project into the future. In a world increasingly driven by data, machine learning algorithms are becoming incredibly proficient at predicting future outcomes. From the stock market to healthcare, AI can now generate predictions about what's to come based on vast amounts of data. But what if AI could predict your personal future? Imagine an AI system that not only learns your habits and preferences, but also helps you make decisions by showing you multiple potential futures, each based on different choices you might make today. Would this be a form of mental time travel? Could AI give us the ability to see future outcomes as if we were time travelers and alter our decisions in real time? This is where the fascinating intersection of chronesthesia and AI becomes relevant. In many ways, AI is augmenting our mental abilities to imagine the future. It's not just about predicting outcomes anymore. It's about experiencing them, or at least being able to manipulate them in our minds before they happen. We're no longer merely speculating about the future. We're beginning to use data and algorithms to shape it. This raises an intriguing question. Does AI redefine how we use our own minds to mentally travel through time? At the same time, however, that challenges our relationship with time by creating a sense of predetermined futures. As we rely more on predictive algorithms, we may lose the sense of agency over our own lives. Our ability to project into the future becomes not just a mental exercise, but an algorithmic one, raising concerns about whether we're still in control of our own time. The neuroscience of time. Can we train our brains to time travel? So far, we focus on how technology alters the perception of time. But what if we could enhance our ability to time travel with a simple shift in how we use our brains? Neuroscience has made tremendous strides in understanding how our brains process time, and recent studies suggest that it might be possible to train our minds to experience time more fluidly. Research has shown that the brain's prefrontal cortex, responsible for higher cognitive functions like planning, decision making, and future thinking, plays a significant role in how we perceive the future. Interestingly, this part of the brain is also involved in our ability to remember the past. Could neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and adapt, allow us to strengthen or even rewire our ability to mentally travel through time? Some neuroscientists are exploring ways to harness this potential by training the brain to enhance our sense of chronesthesia, using techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy (CBT), mindfulness, and even transcranial magnetic stimulation (TMS). It may be possible to reshape our mental time travel abilities. In theory, we could train ourselves to focus more effectively on the future, or even revisit past memories more vividly. This opens up a world of possibilities. Imagine a future where we could use these techniques to optimize our mental time travel, becoming better at planning, reducing anxiety about the future, and even enhancing our creativity by connecting seemingly disparate past and future experiences. Ethical considerations: the dark side of chronesthesia and technology. But with all these advancements, we must also confront the ethical dilemmas that come with the manipulation of time. As technology continues to push the boundaries of how we experience the past and future, what are the risks? One immediate concern is the potential for over-reliance on VR and AI to alter our perception of reality. Could we lose touch with the present moment by constantly reliving the past or projecting into the future? Are we sacrificing our ability to experience time organically in favor of technological enhancements? There's also the question of privacy and manipulation. If AI can predict your future, could it be used to manipulate your decisions, subtly nudging you toward choices that align with someone else's agenda? Could we be inadvertently changing the future in ways we don't fully understand? The rise of deepfake technologies, where entire videos can be generated to create false memories or relive past events, further complicates the ethical landscape. When we begin to manipulate time and memory with such precision, what happens to the authenticity of our experiences? Do we lose the ability to differentiate between genuine memories and technologically crafted ones? The future of chronesthesia. As we continue to explore the modern implications of chronesthesia, it becomes clear that we are on the verge of a revolution in how we perceive and experience time. Virtual reality, AI, and neuroscience are giving us new ways to manipulate our mental timelines, allowing us to travel through time in ways that were once the stuff of science fiction. Yet with this incredible power comes the responsibility to ensure that we don't lose our sense of agency or the authenticity of our experiences. As we move forward, we must carefully consider how to balance the promise of time manipulation with the need to stay grounded in the present. What lies ahead? Will we continue to blur the lines between past, present, and future? Or will we learn to harness the power of time travel to improve our lives? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: the future of chronesthesia is now, and it's more exciting than ever. The infinite nature of time and mind. As we come to the end of our journey through chronesthesia, one thing becomes abundantly clear. Time is more than just a line on a clock, ticking away second by second. It's a vast, uncharted landscape within the mind, a landscape we've only just begun to understand. Throughout this exploration, we've uncovered how our brains have the extraordinary ability to travel across time, to revisit the past, and to project ourselves into the future. We've learned that the science of mental time travel is more than just a fascinating cognitive feat. It's woven deeply into the fabric of who we are. But here's the most remarkable part: we are only just beginning to scratch the surface of what's possible when it comes to understanding and harnessing the power of chronesthesia. As technology advances, as neuroscience uncovers more secrets of the mind, and as we explore new realities through VR and AI. Our perception of time is evolving in ways we couldn't have imagined just a few decades ago. It's not about controlling time, it's about expanding our awareness of it, and with that, expanding our potential. We've explored so many dimensions of chronesthesia, from the scientific foundations to philosophical musings, from the past in our minds to the future that we can now predict. We've even peeked into the disorders that arise when time seems to slip out of our grasp, and discussed how modern technologies are both helping and challenging us in navigating time itself. So, what does all of this mean for you, the viewer? In a world that constantly rushes forward, where every moment seems fleeting, chronesthesia invites us to slow down and reflect, to think deeply about our past, to project positively into the future, and to appreciate the present. It teaches us that time is not something to be feared or controlled, but something to be embraced, understood, and even reimagined. It's a reminder that the mind is far more powerful than we give it credit for. As you go forward in your life, keep this one thought in mind: you have the power to travel through time mentally. Every memory you have, every vision of the future you hold, is yours to shape and revisit as you choose. And with the technological tools of today and tomorrow, that ability will only grow. Chronesthesia is not just a science or a philosophical concept. It's a gift that allows us to not only understand time, but to use it to our advantage in ways we've only just begun to explore. And the best part? You don't need a time machine or a magic portal. All you need is the incredible, adaptable, and infinitely powerful mind you already have. As we conclude this exploration of time and the mind, I encourage you to reflect on your own relationship with time. How do you perceive your past? How do you imagine your future? And most importantly, how can you live more fully in the present, knowing that time itself is part of who you are? The journey doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into chronesthesia, how we mentally time travel. I hope this video has left you with a sense of wonder, curiosity, and empowerment. And remember, in the vast expanse of time, the most important moment is always the one you're in right now. Until next time, keep exploring, keep reflecting, and keep traveling through the infinite realms of time, both inside and outside your mind.